needed to change it.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call the December 11th, 2023 meeting of the Hampden Board of Selectmen to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are meeting at the Hampden Townhouse in the auditorium. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Zoom. Is there anybody else recording the meeting? Thank you, Dalton. All right, so we have no minutes tonight, Lauren?
No.
Okay. First order of business is that we're going to do a board reorg. Just to give you a quick recap, back after the election in May, at our meeting of the 22nd, we did our normal board reorg. And typically, as in years past, the member of the board in his third year, or their third year, would be the chair. That would have been Craig. Craig was offered the chair, but had a much better offer to, and turned it down. So as had been done in prior years, the board voted to have me remain for half the year, and Don would take over half a year, and then let's not make an assumption, but then next year.
I'm alive then.
Next year, he would be voted chair and stay on for that year as well. So we needed an official time to actually hand the gavel over to Don. So at this point, we'll entertain a motion for chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move to nominate Don Davenport as chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
I'll second myself.
You check that at home? Okay, any other nominations?
Hasn't spoken to me in 5 years.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a nomination for Craig Rivas as on Board of Health.
Second.
Craig, do you accept, or you have?
I would make a nomination for John Flynn as Board of Health.
Second for discussion?
I'll second.
Okay.
I don't know if I was going to withdraw the other one or this one.
Secret, Craig, any reason, or?
I just got a bunch of projects going on with fiber and our water commission stuff, and then a lot of other activities outside of the board that are pulling me into a lot of different directions, so.
Fair enough, and I think that's a very good point with the fiber and the water, two pretty high-profile things here. I have no problem with that. I've certainly got experience being chair of the Board of Health before, so I'll.
No, all in favor? Good job.
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
I need the jacket, Craig, when you get a chance.
Yeah, I'll give you the key to the lockbox.
In the car. You get in the car.
Vehicle.
Thank you.
The driver. Heard it's a Mustang hybrid.
Not to say we didn't have a sense this was happening. That's why Don's already in the middle with the good chair.
So, moving on to the rest of the meeting, the first item on our agenda is a public hearing for a septic tank variance at 42 Summers Road. The Board of Health chair would conduct this meeting.
Night, Craig. So basically, this has been scheduled a couple times, and now it's officially happening. My understanding is that the septic at the gas station basically needs to be moved.
Yep.
It's as we're all familiar with, septic fields need to be changed on occasion.
Yep.
This change will necessitate the field moving closer to the well or the gas station only. The benefit, though, is that it will provide greater separation for the neighbors' wells. And I'll turn it over to Finn, and you have the engineer as well, and give us a quick, the highlights.
Just real quick, the neighbor was putting in a new fence, and he dug a fence post hole and saw that there was sewage coming up, so I went out, did an inspection, sent an enforcement letter to the Shell station. So we began the process of designing a new septic system. So if you want to kind of speak to the variance part.
Yeah, I'll definitely speak to the variance part.
And just for record, you are?
Jim Bernardino with CMG Engineering, representing the owner and applicant for the variance this evening. Obviously, we do have the existing building, the existing leach fields, approximately this area over here. with our septic tank over here. The proposed neighbor was installing the fence, making a big deal, but the fence is about 10 feet onto our property. Regardless, we did our soil testing, soil criteria, no issues with groundwater elevation. Soils are, conducive of a good septic system. So the design we had was a conventional septic system. There is an existing well for the site located back here at the onset of the project, and it started off being one of my errors. One of my design engineers didn't clearly identify the type of well it was. We know it serviced the gas station, very low flow, a couple hundred gallons a day tops that comes out of there. But depending on how you classify the well, being a normal well for a use versus a transient public well or a non-transient public well, meaning the public has access to it. It met all the criteria of a regular well. But lo and behold, a little later on, that knowledge came to light on us, shame for me, my team for missing that. As soon as we did notify that, we talked to Finn to help us out the best way we go about it. We reviewed the site again, found out where we had it the first time was still the best suitable place for it. So we have the well, the pink's the 100-foot marker. This pink is the 100-foot marker for this guy next to us. And there's another public well across the street that has a pink here. What's not shown is a bunch of other buffers from the surrounding neighborhoods that have what they call interim well protection areas, which aren't defined, so with the location of our proposed, we do move it further away from all of the other public wells that could potentially be affected. It just gets closer to our own on-site well. We looked at the type of water usage that's there. It's a very small bathroom with 2 employees on max at any one time. So flow generated from Title V minimum requirements is 500 gallons a day. So we're designing a small system because we're hitting all those minimum requirements. So with that, our application kind of covered the little nuances of what we're looking to do. But I do feel that, this improvement, is a betterment for the public health all around, even though we are encroaching a little bit. The only impacted party is the applicant himself.
And as you said, this is probably, in my experience, this is the lowest public water supply well I've ever seen in terms of usage.
Right, exactly. And when you look at the public water supply, well, I asked my engineer, check and see if it's a public water supply. They're mapped on the DE. Unfortunately, our new employee made a mistake. We took the word for it. And those criteria of the public water supply wells, it says, you're supplying at least 40 people a day with water supplies and things of that nature. We don't have a public restroom. There's no public water supplies. We just have a facility for the employees only. So like I said, it's one of the lowest that you can even potentially consider.
Ice is not created on site, right?
Not that I'm aware
Trucked
of.
in, I believe.
Yes.
So that wouldn't be a usage, all right.
Coffee.
The coffee,
No coffee on site. It's strictly
bottle.
bottled cans,
No, I
basically
mean,
what
they
supplies
do, no,
outside
they do
business.
sell coffee on site. Does that come from the water supplied on site or from?
The what, I'm
I
sorry?
thought they have a coffee machine, they sell coffee on
The
site.
cappuccino
Is that-
machine.
Is it a cappuccino machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't aware of that. I had to take a look. But they would be doing that, again, very low volumes, throughout the public use.
And of course, it's subject to the same testing requirement as.
Yes, there is an established program that's, applicable to the public water system that's there. So they do their, all the required inspections, maintenance, testing, and things of that.
You know who the water operator is? I assume it might be corporate, because they probably have a lot of.
Yeah, they have a corporate, this company, it's O'Donnell Oil. There's another Global Energy under it, and they have hundreds of stores. So they definitely have a maintenance group, and this is not their only public water supply that they're operating.
So you're saying the benefit of what you've done here is actually you provide a greater separation for the neighbors, the
Correct.
residential unit.
Correct. And the benefits for the applicant and the users of the site are, we have a new state-of-the-art septic system that accessible septic tanks for operation and maintenance. The other one was buried, no one knew, nobody was even there. So with this, it kind of will kickstart the normal maintenance requirements that are associated with septic systems. So with that, in a new system that meets all the Title V requirements, it's definitely a betterment over what the existing conditions are.
I do see a little separate, I mean, could it have been moved out 10 feet more and provide less of the inside the circle, or?
In here,
Yeah,
we're looking at, had overhead, quite a bit of overhead wires and a substantial power line. So doing that, there's a telephone pole right here.
Okay.
And eliminating the telephone pole would be probably more money, or moving the telephone pole would be more money than actually doing the septic system.
well, I think in our experience, Don could speak to that, getting them involved in it would be another 2-year project.
2-year project.
Right, and exactly, and what we're trying to do is this as quickly as possible, because obviously the site is under an enforcement order,
Oh.
you know, from the Board of Health, so we just don't want to drag it out, we want to make sure we get it done quickly, and I actually talked to Finn quite a bit, and there's an allowance under the Title V regulations that would allow the Board of Health to let us start construction early while the various process was, you know, moving forward. But we didn't end up going here. We thought it was appropriate to come to the board and, you know, get all the channels lined up before.
What's the distance that you're asking for? It's
73 feet
73 feet out of instead of 100?
instead of 100, that's correct.
And it's not the first one we've ever diminished the separation on before. So,
What say you, Finn?
I'm in complete agreement with this location. I think that's the best possibility.
and as you said, the soils are good, this is not.
The soils are good.
Yeah.
All right, so you've done the proper noticing. Is there any abutter here that has a quick question, or?
I was just wondering where the location was on the butter.
Okay, so you're the guy who discovered the fence, right?
Yes, so if we're looking here, I'll give you a quick overview. Telephone pole right here.
Yeah.
So it's between the telephone pole and the shed. And the fence is right here. So it's going to be about 5-10 feet off the fence on the other side of the property.
Right.
So more behind,
Boy, I know it's complaining, but that fence is actually 10 feet or so onto the.
I didn't see that
We
fence
didn't
up.
put that fence up,
Just
we tried to make
replacing
it
it.
better.
Yeah, exactly, and no issues there, but.
so behind the dumpsters, basically,
Yeah, right behind the dumpsters, or close to it, you know, between the dumpster and the building, but in the grass area.
and the well is almost over at the Bilton side. then.
Yes, exactly.
Put it in terms everybody understands.
And we do apologize for the multiple notices that went out, we were just,
Had to get
couple
right.
oversights with being on the agenda or things like that.
I told you, one more time, you're going on a committee.
Yes, exactly, so I do think, you know, all in all, it's gonna be a betterment for the property, and
So basically, we need one motion to allow the variance.
that's correct.
I move to grant variance for 42 Summers Road for septic from 100 feet to 73 feet as required in the zoning plan here.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Just to follow up from the technical, formal variance
Yeah, we can
issuance.
get you that. I'll
Yeah.
get it worked, yeah.
Yeah, it's just on letterhead, there's really no standard form from the town, I put together a makeshift one.
Yeah.
Just put it on letterhead, that's just as good.
I think between, Finn and Jake, they'll get it done.
Yeah, you manage. Thank you, everyone.
The real people.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ben.
Finn.
Thanks, Finn.
Phew. Back to you, boss.
You gotta close your hearing.
Close the hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing for 42 Summers Road.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mill Pond issues.
Well, it's not our thing, we're just visiting.
I would like to
I
bring,
think it's scary right up.
Who's here for Mill Pond? Hey,
We were just invited to listen.
well, actually, if I can, I invited you to participate.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I thought after our meeting with Senator Goby, we need to really just not let it lie fallow. We've had a history of some of those things.
yeah,
I think we need an action plan going forward.
all right.
We go with
So
that.
we're gonna get more chairs, gotta get more chairs out and everything. Oh, my God.
BYOC, bring your own chair.
Then we got more chairs.
That's production.
Yeah, you can have the padded one.
I got a lot, so.
I got the bushy too.
It's nice and cool. Both of you guys are so tough. It was good. Tom, I thought you'd be in Vero Beach by now. 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Okay.
This is the general style.
Wanna go on the other side or here? Okay.
That's fine. Right here.
Let's go.
So,
Talk about kids.
I suppose you're wondering why I asked you here.
Checks, we're handing out checks.
Yeah, I think.
Got $1.
You're gonna, you've got someone to survey?
Only for the 2 lines that we needed to solve our problem. So the line along the back of the Bay Bear, the Colony Drive properties, and the line next to Genevieve Road. And not the rest. So, but we did talk to, Smith is doing it, and they said they would be willing to do a bigger one. They're gonna do it somewhere between mid-January and mid-February.
And that's coming out of our money.
Yeah, that's coming out of the.
What exactly are they gonna be doing?
Mitigation money.
I'm sorry?
And what exactly are they gonna be doing?
They're going to survey those 2 lines, and, let's see, I do have a map for it if you want.
There you go.
It's up there. Right there.
Yeah, but there's a specific map. There's one that says delineation and survey on it.
Okay.
We got concerned about.
Over the bottom.
Delineation and survey.
Yeah. Okay, so those 2 red lines, and then there's a right-of-way, so they're gonna also survey the right-of-way so that we can mark it as the appropriate path for people to take out. We had trouble with people walking between all sorts of other properties. So this will say this is the way out. And
So there's been no surveying there in the past for that property in the back?
Nothing.
not that we're aware of.
Aware of. And there's, when there's worry that a couple neighbors are intruding into the property.
Okay.
Yeah, dump stuff, pushed out trunks and dirt and all sorts of stuff.
Judy,
We're also,
are you talking about the access on Genevieve or the?
yes,
Okay, yes.
we're also looking at getting a delineation for the vernal pool, which is that thing up in the upper left corner. So that we can put markers saying this is where the pool is and the buffer is, because people have had heavy equipment in there. And again, they've been dumping and other kinds of things. It's a very sensitive area.
Now, a vernal pool is like a natural spring, right?
No, it's a pool that has no fish in it.
Uh-huh.
And most of them disappear in the middle of summer, but not always. Some of them are, this one happens to be continuous.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were there during the middle of summer, it still had water.
Yeah, but it's not attached to any other inlet or outlet, so its water comes from what falls in it essentially.
Doesn't it come, I thought vernal meant it came from,
And, well, that's because most of them are in the spring.
okay.
It's in the spring,
Seasonal.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's usually when they fill up, and then by midsummer, they're gone. But they're very important breeding grounds for salamanders in particular, and we have 4 kinds of salamanders in town that are considered important. They're all lumped into one group of blue-spotted salamanders. And that's almost exclusively where they hatch, but also it's a good environment for frogs, like wood frogs, that hatch from there, and then they eventually go out to the uplands.
Why are salamanders important? I'm just curious, I don't know.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, because they're in very severe decline is the biggest reason. They're on the endangered list for the state. And they take a very particular habitat. They take this kind of a habitat where there's no fish, because the fish eat the eggs, and no other things that will eat the eggs, like bullfrogs. And so it's a matter of preserving the populations, really.
Yeah,
Even though you're concerned
Pat,
more about
go ahead.
Mill Pond, this whole thing is part of it.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be the whole compact, though.
That's one.
Compound.
Yeah.
We know more about gerrymanders than so.
My backyard abuts the woods that's directly in line south of the vernal pool. And we have bullfrogs in our yard all summer long. We have frogs migrating back and forth between our yards, we always have. Although they are a little bit less since the mill pond was dredged a while ago, so they may be breeding and overwintering in the mill pond. They may also be using the vernal pool for breeding and.
So are you 118?
Pardon?
Are you 118 on that map?
Well, the mill pond is where the red arrow is. I'm number 76, but it's called 80.
Pardon me,
something.
could you just, I mean, Lauren doesn't, she's doing minutes, could you just introduce yourself for, everybody, that's all.
Okay, do you want me to go point? I'm sorry.
No, introduce yourself so Lauren
Oh,
can
I'm
take
sorry.
minutes.
I'm Pat Cody, I'm a Hampden resident, and I live at 76 Colony Drive, which is the third
On the
house
other side, okay.
on that, which abuts the woods there.
So other than that, we're planning on putting markers along those two borders, a sign about the path on both ends, and some small signs to mark, an explanatory sign to mark the vernal pool.
It probably wouldn't be bad to do all the property, but we don't have the money for that.
Yeah, it's gonna cost us $2,600.
For the first survey. Through the chair, could I ask maybe, the only person who's really been involved in this before is Gary, maybe he could lay out what he sees as a course of action.
This is in preparation, potentially for doing something with the pond in the future.
Well, that's not what started it. What started it were several complaints about people doing stuff on this piece of land.
Yeah.
Exiting between other people's property and dumping and things like that. But yeah, it is true that the pond has filled in. It's very heavily sedimented. And I think with all the resiliency stuff going on and the rains getting heavier and everything, it's not a bad idea, even though, as Pat will tell you, which is part of why she's here, in the time since it's been dredged, it has very highly populated with wildlife. So any plan has to kind of be adjusted so as not to.
Also, some of the wildlife has disappeared since it was dredged. The heron, we've had a heron there for years. Every year it would come back, and after the dredging, it was gone. And I think that's because
How long ago was the dredging, though?
it was a while ago.
25 years?
25. Is that-
Yeah, I don't think it's that much.
We did it in 1994, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what I read.
'Cause I've seen here and there
94,
recently.
97,
So
something like
30
that.
years.
Yeah, I got pictures of it.
For when we went to the commission with it.
And it's, as you can, well, there's another map, but basically what's now open water is not where the original pond was even. It's because of all the flooding, it's moved over. So I think it's eventually going to go into the actual property, which is 2 properties away from that yellow square. The pond itself now extends into 117, which happens to also be town property, so.
Yeah, I was going to
it's
suggest
spreading.
that if you were going to survey, and I don't want to spend your money, but I don't think people realize that 117 actually belongs to the town.
Right,
And if you can put people on notice if that westerly line were flagged, because if it were possible to get monies to dredge that pond, that was our staging area for when we initially started the dredge.
yeah, I
And
understand.
because it's basically, there's some wetland, but basically it was an upland area.
Yeah, it's
It was
mostly
fill
buffer.
material from the pond itself. And also the lady on the inlet side to that pond would be, anyway, it's on the easterly side of the pond on that yellow line. I would suggest that that line be flagged up. She has posted on occasion because of kids trespassing, and she on occasion has gotten very irritated that people have been going onto her property. So the knowledge of where that is would be, I think, helpful for the long term, so that
Yeah, I think
everybody.
it would be. Do you think the town has any money they might come up with to add into it? Because it's going to be more for all of it, I think, than we even have. And it's for all the town lands, so I hate to just.
Let's get a quote and
use it
see
in one place.
where it comes up to.
That'd be good.
Start.
And if I could be the fly in the ointment on one other thing. When DL Homes did all the lots on Mill Road, they deeded the pond and 117 to the town as open space. What they didn't do, and unfortunately, is all along Mill Road from the pond to where it accesses under Mill,
Right.
the overflow, are, count them up, 4 or 5 culverts that are in the channel for the overflow.
It's really an above-ground stream that happens.
No easement was taken, unfortunately. That would have been the time to address it, put a 20-foot stormwater easement where the channel was. It might be appropriate to do that now, because right now, the town has no right to go into that channel and do clearing, siltation removal, or any of that. And if for some reason that were to get plugged, we won't have one heck of a mess, as we know, on Colony, Bayberry, River Park Drive, because of the flooding potential there.
All it takes is one beaver.
Can I
So
make
the
a-
channel that runs in front of the homes,
Yeah.
exiting all the way down to Gristmill,
Yeah.
across from Gristmill.
Right, Fox Run.
Yeah.
When we did Grist Mill, we left a stormwater easement from Mill Road into the pond, detention area that's there on Grist Mill with that overflow. So the town has the right to go in there and do clearing and cleaning and make sure it functions. But right now, along the southerly side of Mill Road there in that channel, there's no easement.
What about the input side? Is that?
That's all
good?
town.
That's all town. And is
That's
it
all.
in good shape
Yeah.
roughly?
Actually, it's in very good shape.
Okay.
It's, there's silt in it that probably about a foot of it could be taken out. And anybody doing a review of the hydraulics, the town went in, I don't know, 20 years ago, when we had ice in the river, and they had to dynamite the river.
Yeah, I remember.
And remember, and what they did was also, the channel at that point in time was flowing unbelievably, so they cut the channel on the north side of Mill Road to allow water to go into the area on the north side.
On the north side.
Which hurts River Park Drive. And I keep bringing up River Park because we know that, I mean, you could put a boat around some of those houses when we have extreme flooding.
Dick, could you hit one of the overview ones so they can see the property above?
Or scale it down.
How was it today? Was it flowing?
Barely, but it reacted pretty quick, which is
Okay,
surprising.
so all that square, that rectangle above Mill that you can see in
Is
two
there?
pieces,
That's all
that's
town.
all conservation land as well.
And sometimes that does fill up pretty good with water.
It does. It also is.
Well, one of our summer storms, I actually looked and it was flooded.
Yeah. It also is considered to have very high conservation values of all sorts, rare species, much more than Mill Pond itself, actually.
Can I make a correction?
So we can do work in there, but we just have to be careful.
Go ahead.
I misspoke before when I said dredging. I was talking about when they put the fire hydrant into Mill.
The dry well.
That's when things changed, especially with the frogs and the turtles.
That's interesting.
And
What do
I
you
wasn't
think
even
caused
here in
that?
95, so
Yeah.
I can't speak to what was going on back in 95. We moved in 96. So
Just
I
the dry well.
misspoke when I said dredging. I meant when the fire hydrant.
That's amazing.
That's when the heron disappeared. That's when the frogs started disappearing.
Is it, you think it's because the trucks come so often, or?
I think it's just
They don't
that,
use
you
it.
know, turtles, for instance, and frogs they'll burrow into the mud to overwinter.
Do you think they
And I
get
think that
disturbed?
disturbed that. I know the heron disappeared and they usually are there because.
The heron have come back though, haven't they? 'Cause I've
Heron's
seen
been
them.
back this year.
It might be.
I've seen them there the last couple of years, because I got pictures of it over by the.
There's a beautiful gray one that stays on the westerly side of the pond, right on the area where we weren't allowed to dredge it.
Okay.
Likes that
Over
shallow
there.
water, yeah.
Or by the birdhouse that's out there.
And Craig had talked about eventually having some parking, and you'll notice that, well, you can't tell on this one of the ones that's got green on it. Try the one that says Mill Pond parcels out. No, Townland, Mill Pond, and Bayberry. There's basically the marsh section of the pond goes, yeah, there. The marsh section of the pond goes all the way back so that there's really no way to get there off of Bayberry. And there's really no way to get there off of Colony. So for long-term, when Craig was talking about trying to create some kind of parking, I think it's going to come up on the western side of 117.
117.
There's a buffer there, but we can.
What about even like right along the road too, right? I mean,
Yeah, but it gets crowded really fast
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
so,
And some of it's no parking because of the fire hydrant.
yeah, with snow and all that.
Still a long stretch though.
Yeah.
So just kind of keep in the back of your head, I think that's where it would have to go.
117. That makes sense though. That would be off the road too.
Yeah, so you get on it off the road and just have a few narrow spaces.
Like I
there's
said at
no-
the meeting, if
nothing
there
from
was
Genevieve
impervious
was real
material,
small.
or sorry, permeable material, that would be something that would keep the,
That would really help, yeah. Yeah, if you can put down the kind of paver.
How wide is that right of way on Genevieve?
10, 20 feet.
Not
20 feet.
not wide at all.
And that
No,
falls
it's
through
not a
one-
road, it's definitely a path.
Yeah, but it looked like the butters may have been intruding a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted.
Yeah, there's a new homeowner on one of those corners that I think just is unaware.
Yeah,
of
73.
Oh, there
oh,
it is.
you buy, you don't know.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things to consider, but I think if only for storm reasons, it's important to deal with all of it, and it would feed into what Craig was talking about ice skating, and it would deal with our problem at the same time.
So, back to Gary, you're the only one with experience, what is the process, if the town was so inclined to look into a dredging, what would be the process on our part?
Money. But the process would be first, depending on who would be sponsoring it. If the conservation sponsored it, they would have to hire a consultant who would do an evaluation of the pond, would have to come up with a plan of dredge, and then permitting wise, you're talking Corps of Engineers, you're talking the state water 404 water quality permit, and DEP, of course, would want to weigh in on something along this line. So, but if the commission sponsored it, I think it would go a long way. The Corps has gotten a lot easier about dredge permits on very, very small projects. They basically
Yeah.
try to wash their hands as much as they can of them and turn them over to the state under water quality.
I think ideally it would take a grant, though, because we're still talking, I don't know, I was looking at all the dredging projects like this that are happening are huge, great ponds, because that's what the grants are focused on right now, is fixing all the great ponds. But I think we're talking maybe $500,000, something like that. Do you think?
Senator Goby
that's
talked about a
about
couple of
the
them.
More than likely, by the time you're all said and done with permitting and whatever,
surveys?
we were lucky enough to get a bunch of volunteers. We had Gagliarducci Construction hauling the material out. The contractor gave a great price because he had a dredge or a one-arm drought he wanted to try out.
So we might get
But
lucky.
yeah, you're probably in that $300,000 to $500,000 range to do it and really end up with something that's
Yeah.
not going to fill up in the next 20 years.
Because it takes stormwater and because it is a continuous stream that goes into it from one end and out the other and through Gristmill and over to the Scantic. I think there might be a municipal vulnerability program grant or something like that we could get.
I think she
Some
did.
of us were hoping that the municipal vulnerability would look at, we talked about the Scantic River because of its inadequacy at this point to take storm flows. And as part of that would have been the mill pond going upstream, but that's maybe under phase 2 under the municipal. I'm not sure about, how that would go.
Gary, if we look at it, should we also include that outflow area, that whole channel going down?
Oh, yeah, it's that little spot over on the left that looks bluish.
Besides
That's
the
the
pond?
grist mill reservoir essentially.
Hmm.
And then it goes out from there towards the Scantic. So that's kind of where the whole complete flow goes.
And then the problem behind River Park as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a silting problem.
that is a problem that is not gonna go away, even if we were to do all of what we would like to do in the Scantic and Mill Pond. By elevation, they are just at risk.
Hmm.
And, you know, the amount of water that flows through the Scantic now puts them at risk.
Hmm.
And they're at less risk when Mill Pond functions correctly, the way it's supposed to, and the Scantic functions as not only a wonderful environmental resource, but also as a stormwater flow river. And it can't do that now. If you walk up that river, you will see that it cannot function that way.
So you said if Mill Pond functions the way it's supposed to, meaning Mill Pond is not functioning the way it's supposed to.
Not now, because it's I'd say a portion of its value for stormwater flow storage is compromised. It's silted and sediment in.
The open water on that marsh is only maybe 2/3 of it at the most.
Right.
And all the rest of that yellow area is marsh.
And if I can, the other small piece of the puzzle is, again, talking about the culverts under the driveways on the road. The first culvert closest to the pond is about a foot too high. It needs to be lowered so that the pond during overflow periods actually function without overflowing and pushing water back into Bayberry, which it probably, if you look at the stormwater outlet on Bayberry during heavy flows, it's surcharged. You got water that doesn't get off of those roads the way they should because, again, Mill Pond doesn't have the capacity.
Yeah, Mark, if Mark was here, he's got some storm drains on those two roads that are flowing into that.
So where do those storm
And I don't
drains
know how
come
well they
out?
flow.
Do they come out into the marsh or do they just?
In the marsh, right along the bend, if you will, of Bayberry. There's I think a 15-inch that takes most of the drainage off of Bayberry and part of Colony into the back of the pond.
There's significant open water right at that end bulb. That's probably why.
That's where it
it's
is.
the stormwater clip.
Yeah, that would.
And it was on Colony where the two road storm drains are that go through two lots where they're doing a lot of re-landscaping, and they have pushed their landscaping right up to the drain on the side of our property.
Clear cutting.
It's-
Like a word comes there.
I don't know what that may or may not do.
It's right next to
So I think from what Gary's saying, the ability of it has been compromised. So what was done 30 years ago, some of it has been taken away.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
So,
mean, the big marsh up above in the other conservation land is essentially a giant sponge, so it can be used if everything else is
Sure.
working as a place for the aquifer to refill.
do you recall Senator Goby talking about other grants that were available? Yeah, so, Don, what would you like to make a committee? I hate to say it. We talked about CPA money being a potential source as well.
Yeah.
I think a combination, I know it's a big number Gary's talking about. We have quite a bit of CPA, and I remember we talked about maybe even matching funds with our CPA money.
Yeah. Maybe.
Might be able to leverage the senator's discussion here the other night about possible sources in there. If the bond, that environmental bond is going to be renewed this year, might be able to match. Because from what she seemed to indicate, local monies matched with, correct me if I'm wrong, go a much longer way than just asking for money.
Yeah, yeah.
A little similar to what Bob has been doing with the MVP grants. I'd like to see more of a focus on restoration of our conservation areas. And also where it has been impacting neighbors as well, this will restore their quality of life with what's happening. And again, and I know you have a concern about the dry hydrant, but as Craig has said before, perhaps it's not performing like it should because the depth isn't there. You know, where they thought that was going to be a great source, but as it gets shallower and shallower, it's tougher for them to use it as a a recharge point for the fire department.
At the time we did the dredge, the fire department approached us about that. And it actually is, we stoned it and deepened it right in that location. But more than likely, yeah, it's probably starting to sediment up. And the fire department could tell you, because they run drills and they pull water out of the pond, and they've been doing it for.
Yeah, they do.
The chief is here, he maybe can answer how well it's working.
We've had some problems over the past few years with weeds and whatnot during the, the warmer months. But we have been able to push water backwards into it and push it out. But yeah, there is some silt and stuff in there that seems to be, kind of building up around it.
So in the years you've used it, you've noticed some degrading of the capacity?
Correct, but it's still very viable right now.
So you probably have half a dozen different reasons that this has got to move forward.
Can I ask a question?
So you think John's suggestion of forming another committee?
Pat's asking to speak.
I just want to ask a question. I'm wondering
She's
what
very
the
quiet.
effect of putting parking next to the mill pond would be on all this. I mean, we already have, the pond's very full right now. It's, the water's in the marshlands. If we have, semi-impervious surfaces next to it, there's two issues. First of all, there's a lot of wildlife going back and forth there. We see squished turtles, unfortunately, all the time over there. Not all the time, not as frequently as we used to, but it happens, and it is a sensitive area. I know the wildlife comes from that. The lot across the street, it comes through the mill pond area, it comes through, we have a deer path through our yard. It's been there for, according to my neighbors, it's been there for decades. And it's not so active anymore since my neighbor's clear cut next door. So that's, that's affecting it too. But my point is that I'm not sure that putting parking by the mill pond is such a great idea, especially in terms of silt, in terms of wildlife, in terms of all kinds of issues.
Well, I think that was an ancillary type thing that, if we make it a nice recreation area, could that be something looked into?
Gary says
It's not the
point there
genesis
anyway.
for it right now, yeah.
But if you get the
There's-
environmental specialist and engineer, and then they can figure all that out.
Sure.
I think we have to take the
There's
first step
access
before we.
And there is access from Bayberry if you put a path in there.
There's no parking.
Good
For walking, just not for parking.
Pardon?
For walking.
For walking. Well,
Yeah, they can park on the
there's
street.
areas where you could.
Yeah, they can
the
park on
road.
the street. It's
Well,
true.
at the cul-de-sac at Genevieve.
Yeah, I mean, both at Bayberry and at Genevieve.
Yeah, that's a good
There are
point.
areas where you could.
They could park on those other two
But I think
streets.
that might be page 5. I mean, I think
Fine.
Don's point is that we're having such luck getting committees now, but I see the genesis of the committee right here.
Yeah, don't
Very
say
good
that.
point.
Would you care? Would care.
She was on the committee, on the floor.
Yeah, well, she's thinking about being the chair.
I think in the short term,
Two things. Another round of MVP is coming this year. And secondly, Senator Goby, now, former Senator Goby, has a Zoom call every Thursday morning now, 15, 20 minutes, where she provides an update on things that are happening that would affect or provide some benefits to smaller communities. And so I'm just mentioning that to the committee here. They can
The committee would consider.
What was the time frame on the environmental pond? Wasn't that, she said it was 23 or 24?
yeah.
Because it was 5 years after the last one. I mean, this is not a 2 or 3 week project. We're talking
No,
about
it's not.
planning something that's going to take months to plan.
Half a
And I
year.
think to your point, Pat, and I think Don's seen this before, when they give permission to be done, they look at the nesting times, and you can only work from this week to this week because it doesn't disturb turtle growth, et cetera, like that. So that would be a concern there. But this isn't gonna happen next week. But if we don't get off the dime, it will never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just throw out another piece of history here. If you look at the pond that is on the right-hand side of Summers Road, just down from Mill Road, at one point in time, that connected to the backside of Mill Pond, ran through the back of my backyard, if you will. and probably 15, 20 years ago, the old culvert that was there actually blew out, and the people got flooded on the west side of Summers Road as the water tried to find its way the way it historically gone.
So was there like a low channel behind?
Yeah, very small, low channel. So that amount of water, again, thinking stormwater, that amount of water historically made the mill pond and didn't make the upper reach, if you will, of the Scantic during high flow. Today, there's a pipe that's in Summers Road, goes down Summers Road, exits at the bridge into the lower part of the bridge and directly into the Scantic. So that water bypasses the mill pond right now, you know, not that we're talking about ever putting that back in, but I mean, it did historically feed the mill pond.
So what's the name of this committee? The Mill Pond Restoration Committee?
And Turtle.
Turtle.
So I would suggest to the chair that we put out a call for volunteers for the Mill Pond Restoration
You
Committee.
know, and your neighbors that would be interested?
I hesitate to.
Throwing a volunteer mark.
I think they also mentioned too about surveying the whole property.
Right.
So that seems like a more of an immediate need.
Well, again,
You know,
like a suggestion.
just my opinion.
If you have one quote, if you have to expand the quote, and I suggest you come back to the board.
Yeah,
I'll ask him to give us a.
for
Revise.
the whole property, yeah.
Who's the surveyor?
Smith,
Oh, Mike,
I forget,
or Paul?
yeah, trying to remember from the letter. I think Paul,
Paul?
but I'm not sure. I could send an email to you.
Right, so the game plan is you're gonna
I'll
talk
get
to
an
about surveying the
extended
entire property.
Yeah.
We're gonna put out a call for a committee.
Bob is going to look into
Yeah, Bob's gonna talk to
MVP
Ann.
and the
so
MVP
that'll
part.
be
and the,
good.
During our coffee
environmental
hour.
bond, right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should drop a dime to, although Doug was at the meeting, that this may be a potential CPA call in the near couple years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
You're such a good chairman, you can't leave.
My husband may murder somebody if I don't.
The committee will be done, so don't worry.
Remember, you only got two of us for a couple more.
I'll get my key,
Yeah. Just bring your shovel, you'll be,
the whole files.
you'll be taking it down.
He'll be dredging.
Hands on, hands on. Thank you all for coming in today.
Thank you. Mr. Gossman, is Mr. Gossman here? Hey, come on up.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm Don Davenport, the chairman, Greg Rivers, John Flynn.
All right,
Your-
to Robert Cosman.
Okay,
Thanks for squeezing me in such short notice. I don't know, I put together a summarized business plan. And I have a preliminary drawing, if you want to look at it. This is for the, I have two, so, yeah.
okay, so you're,
This is a proposal for the old Chinese restaurant in the plaza.
okay. And you're interested about the liquor license?
Yeah, well, I came in to inquire about a liquor license application,
Yeah,
and she told me I need to do this first.
okay. Have you been to the planning, but you haven't been to the planning board, right?
I have not been to the planning board yet.
Yeah, okay.
Do I need to go just because it was already approved for use as a restaurant?
Yeah, I'm not sure, John, they,
Well, they look at the
The
usage of the
parking-
parking, you know,
parking
to
is-
validate that.
yeah,
It'd be a change
They
of
might
use,
have more
too.
seats and stuff like it, you don't know. Right.
Okay.
I
How
think
many
the
people sat at
original,
the Chinese place?
the original place didn't have a liquor license, though, did it, John?
No, it didn't.
no,
So that'd be a change of use too.
Right.
right,
Okay.
right, so they may have to look at that. And you haven't applied for the liquor license yet, because you haven't, I mean,
I tried to, but I was
yeah, you
told
can't,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
this first.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things.
457 Main. Where's?
The Buddha House. I got the big
Thank
Buddha.
you.
That's what everybody calls it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Next to Connie,
I don't know who,
Connie Witt.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Across from the harbor store.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah.
Dating ourselves, they're done.
So Wednesday, so Saturday, Sunday, we're closed.
What type of restaurant you looking to open?
I guess, I mean, pretty,
I see the menu, I'm just asking for.
yeah, I guess the best terminology to use today would be like a gastropub.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, what we really are is at a place where, thanks for coming in and letting us know. But I think the first step is you need to probably go to the planning board and see what they need you to do.
Okay.
Okay, and then, because then you, when you fill out I see you have previous experience with liquor licenses, so
Sure.
you know what you have to fill out.
I know what I have to do from after town approval.
Right, right,
know,
okay, and
but-
so I think the first thing you need to do is go to the planning board
Yeah.
and see, just change the use. They're pretty quick on how they act on things,
Okay.
you know? And then you fill out your application, your liquor license application.
Yep.
Come back to us, I think that's the local thing.
Okay.
And then we send it to the ABCC.
Right.
And they decide, they send it back to us, and then we
Right.
vote on it again. So,
Okay.
It's a multi-step process, I mean.
Okay.
yeah, so, you know, we
Which you're
do
probably
the
familiar
back,
with, you've been in enough.
we do the background check. You've had experience before.
Yeah, but in Springfield and Chicopee, and,
Yeah.
and that was, you just fill out the application and wait for a hearing,
Yeah,
and that's it.
yeah, so here we gotta go, here we gotta do the planning board first.
Planning board first.
Because they're gonna look at parking and that type of thing.
Okay.
Then I think when you do the application for the liquor license, that's when the fire department will inspect it and the police department will inspect it.
So the applications with the planning department?
The liquor license applications with us,
Okay.
okay? The planning board has a separate process just for looking at, you know, construction of the things in town to see the use. So if it's appropriate use for that site, you know, you've got well water and septic there.
Right.
So you probably know that about from the landlord already.
Yep, landlord's here.
Right, and, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so you figure all that out and then come back to us with your.
I think what he's saying is the first step is the planning board
Planning
approval.
board.
And then from there, we can issue a liquor permit or not.
Okay.
We can't issue a liquor license until there's a planning board
Gotcha.
approval. So it has to follow the procedure steps
Gotcha.
down the line. I think it's great, though, that, you know, local resident wants to open a business, you know, there's a vacancy, there's a need, you know,
Right.
it's
I think so.
town pride.
I mean, if I want something to eat in town and I don't want Italian, I'm on a walk.
Hey, we all love Italian, but
There's nothing wrong with Italian, but three
no,
restaurants.
it's nice to have options.
Yeah, of course,
It's
of
like-
course.
it's like downtown Northampton or whatever, you
Right.
choose something every night.
Right.
I will say, I think the next planning board meeting, they have a meeting this Wednesday, but it's too late to get on that agenda.
Okay,
So it'll be January 10th
okay.
because of the
Yeah,
holiday.
but you should get all your stuff in.
That way, right, and now it's all ducks lined up, and
Right,
hopefully they might even be able to give you an answer right then.
okay.
Have you talked to Joanne in planning yet?
I have not talked to anybody but this young lady.
Joanne is the clerk for planning board.
Okay.
She'll give you all the forms, paperwork, and it's pretty much, you know, put your business proposal down and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just kind of
All right,
pull out some copies and stuff like that.
okay.
You know, like some choices here right now.
I know. You gonna have takeout?
Didn't bring samples.
No samples.
Okay.
This I need, those, I can take if you're gonna lose them, or you're more than welcome to keep them.
You probably need to bring them to, I'll hold on this.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, can I ask the owner, see, do they, what about the lease for, La Cucina and Gio's? Do they have anything?
I already, like you, Keith, they're both good with it.
I already spoke to Gio myself. Lucky is a separate property.
Okay.
So, but I already talked to Gio, and he knows that he's not gonna serve anything that's gonna affect him.
Yeah, I just wanted, if there was something.
I don't even want
Oh,
to.
there's nothing in the lease, but he's a great tenant, so I talked to him first, and he even said the same thing, we're not gonna do flatbed, we're not gonna do pasta, we're not gonna, you know.
And I don't want to do
Do
takeout, because I
grinders.
know he does a great takeout business.
Yeah.
I'm not here to take anybody's business, so just try
All
to.
right.
Yeah, we spoke with him, so we're.
Yeah, more options.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Looking to do.
Right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
See you when you come back. Okay.
Which samples?
Fire department.
You don't get a table tonight.
That's all right. Chairman.
Yes. Yes.
So we came in tonight, we submitted some names for a building committee for fire department. We're looking to get approved by the select board.
I used to have one that doesn't drag on for 3 or 4 meetings, so done.
Yeah.
A quick word, who was Edward Rigney?
Edward Rigney, you were at the Wilbraham Fire Station tour.
Right,
He was a gentleman that guided us.
okay.
He's been on the Wilbraham Fire Department Building Committee, and he also was on the Police Department Building Committee for Wilbraham. He's a Wilbraham resident.
He also did a training for us.
And we did a hazmat training last year for the fire department. He's on the, I believe, fire commissioner over Wilbraham.
Remember when the police chief search committee, we had out-of-towner on that committee as well, remember Don,
Yeah, we had,
former chief?
former chief, yeah.
There's another, one other person, Lance Trevelyan. He is from Wilbraham, but he's lived in Hampden a lot of years. He was Hampden's building inspector before Wendell. So he is very familiar with Hampden, and he was, I believe, building inspector for Wilbraham Fire Department and Police Station as well.
And of course, Gary is was our sealer of weights and measures until the state told us we couldn't have one anymore because our town got too small.
Was that the reason? Is that what happened?
When we drop under 5,000, you have to have a
Under
state inspector.
5,000.
Yeah, Gary Petzel also served on the fire department, Wilbraham's Fire Department Building Committee as well.
But now he's moved into Hampton.
Yeah, there's an Ames Road.
Okay, so the 2 questions I have are from Mark and Greg. Do we want a member of the fire department on there? Or do we want to have the same thing we have with the building, the senior center, where the selectman is a liaison rather than a voting member? Right, you're not a voting member, right? You're a
No, I'm
liaison.
not, but I mean, if you look at the senior center building committee, we have, I think, gosh, at least
40 people.
2 members. Zoom in sometime, widescreen. 2 members that were actually part of the Friends of Seniors.
Oh, friends,
So
okay.
at this point, I think we got volunteers. Not that we just had another committee to fill.
Yeah.
I'd like to pretty much put these people on. The good thing is, to your point before, is that they don't make up a quorum. So they can't make a block that's going to push the committee in one way, which is good. So I think, boy, you've got a pretty good range of knowledge with these 5 people here. This is terrific to see them back. 1 member of the fire department rather than 2 out of the 5. I think that's good.
Now, Becky is an ex officio too.
Right, yep.
Okay.
I'm personally fine with these 5.
We did have a few other names, but they were already on the senior center building committee, and they didn't, they wouldn't want to be
So
on.
now we're going into high time on that, yeah.
We didn't want to be on 2, and they felt, their time is important to themselves. Also, they didn't want to cross lanes, so to speak.
Across the streams.
Hey.
Go ahead, make a motion.
Make a motion to appoint the Gary Petzel, Lance Trevelyan, Edward Rigney, Mark Barber, and Craig Revest to the Fire Station Building Committee
Any
to
second?
serve until,
Till it's built.
So the
we're
end
at the
date.
discretion, or we're not, yeah.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. You get your badges in the morning.
New shirt?
No, we're the only ones without shirts. Every
So
time
your
we get
first
somebody in.
goal is gonna be what? They're gonna look at the
The little walkthrough, I moved it ahead a week. It's been posted about a week.
Yep.
On Combis. Probably no one is going to respond until they've had the walkthrough. Sure. They're seriously interested, so
Right.
that'll be important to you.
And that date
recommended we
is
This Friday, actually, the Friday. Yep, this
move
Friday,
forward
10
to
o'clock.
this Friday, which I did.
What time? Perfect, 10 o'clock.
Now, when they have this walkthrough, could you please make sure that they look at the things to be repaired, like the doors and the windows and the heating system? I'm not interested in additions, I'm interested in fixing those things. You know, so include that in their summary of,
And that's the
you
advantage.
know,
of
because
law.
it's energy savings and all that other stuff too, you know, so.
Absolutely.
Or OSHA and compliance.
OSHA compliance, you know, that kind of stuff.
One thing I came across that might be helpful too is on town website, we do have the Mitchell report. It's buried back a little bit now, just from a time standpoint. So maybe if you guys could somehow, I'm saying, get a folder, get somewhere, have the Mitchell report there, and then have at least maybe the couple of Tecton presentations, the final stuff that they came up with, so we can direct people. My goal will be, certainly at the walkthrough, is tell everybody, okay, things we've mentioned in the RFQ, this is where to go to get them. Meaning, if they want to print it out, the Mitchell report is 250 pages, great, go online, it's right there. It's there now, but maybe, little housekeeping, if we can get those things.
We can move it up higher,
Yeah.
so it gets to the homepage.
Sure.
And we can add
Can we add it to the fire department's page?
other files.
Sure.
Yeah, they're all in the fire department on Laserfish.
Well, I'm saying on our website, we have the fire department directory. We could put it right there under the font.
Yeah.
Hey, Craig, sticks are pretty cheap. You think it'd be hurtful to have maybe 10 sticks with the stuff preloaded on? They could take one with them?
Yeah.
Again, that would be wonderful. That way people can walk away with on a drive.
They walked away with everything they needed, not downloading.
Yeah.
There you go.
That'd be great.
They used their own tree to print it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. No, that'd be helpful.
Okay, so we're looking to, run over to CVS and buy sticks.
Okay, probably buy the Amazon Basics.
Yeah.
Have it here tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
So is it
Use
just the Mitchell
Bob's
report on there,
credit
you thinking? or-
Mitchell and maybe the couple of Tectons, which
Tecton.
might have been PowerPoint, whatever, which weren't big, those were, I think we had a couple of those.
Yeah, they were-
That would be helpful.
All right.
Yep, that'd be great. But yeah, 10 o'clock this Friday.
Okay.
The station is the first.
Bob, you think you can order sticks tomorrow?
Yeah, we have a good relationship with Mason, and I get Jane to deliver them very quickly.
Okay.
Next,
Good.
The other item of business I'd like to bring up is just a change of title to our supervisor during the day. Our career person, our full-time member, holds the title of supervisor, but in the firefighting service, that doesn't really pertain or exist. So the lowest officer would be a lieutenant, and I'd like to make at least a career call, or career lieutenant title, so he has that, at least when he's in command of an incident or something, or other departments can refer to him as a lieutenant. It just flows much nicer for everything in the industry.
how many lieutenants you got there now?
We have 2 other lieutenants. He would be a career lieutenant, wouldn't be. When I first took over, we had 2 deputy chiefs, 2 captains, 2 lieutenants, and now we're down, we have 1 deputy chief, 1 captain, and 2 lieutenants, so.
So the chain of command is clearer.
Yeah, so we're just looking, he's just be career lieutenant for the daytime, Monday through Friday. That way we have an officer on, a firefighter officer.
And that's consistent with how departments are run.
Absolutely.
How does it work, just to say there's a call off hours, and you have 2 lieutenants show up before you, who establishes command?
There's a lieutenant, 1 lieutenant 2.
Okay, so just be higher rank. Okay.
And when the second, so 2 is there first, 1 shows up a little later, they just shift responsibility to one?
Yeah, so if one of them had incident command, the one that's in charge has to notify central saying that they're shifting incident command to the other lieutenant. If so, the desire doesn't mean they can't keep it. I mean, a lot of times if I show up on scene and the deputy or captain has it, it's manageable. I just let them roll with it to get the, you know.
Makes sense.
So you have a chief now, a deputy chief, captain, 2 lieutenants? Yeah. They may have to pull a Tommy Tupperville here and hold up the.
Okay, coach.
Hold up the nomination.
Getting that 4th star, sorry.
That went over my head.
Yeah,
Cover, but, yeah,
okay.
you're fortunate. We got a motion to endorse the chief's desire to change the title of supervisor for the paid firefighters to lieutenant for the career lieutenant.
And who is it again?
Nick Bertrand.
Wait, Nick. Well,
For that
whoever's,
position,
not for Nick per se, but whoever's that position. So
whoever's in
that the
position,
senior
yeah.
person
Career
for the
position.
the senior firefighter for the paid position shall be shall be called lieutenant.
Monday through Friday.
Right.
Second.
So not Nick per se, but I'm saying of the 3, instead of supervisor, it shall be lieutenant for the 3 paid personnel for the day shift.
What happens if Nick is out sick?
It would drop down, so it would be acting lieutenant for the day or whatever day works for them. But that won't be acting supervisor. We won't step back to that. We'd still have the title of lieutenant.
And the title is typical of fire departments.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
the lowest.
that's the way, you know.
Yeah, that's the lowest.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Good night. That's it.
Thank you.
You're out of
Thanks,
here.
Ed. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.
Training now, what's happening?
Digital equity plan vendor.
I did send you this afternoon, and actually I sent it with the packet, the 3 consultants that basically are recommended and even required by the department, and by MBI, I should say. And I looked at the other 2. We are using VHB now for the master plan update, and they're a large company. And then I looked at the other company, which is a gigantic company with literally dozens of activities across the United States. I don't think we would get the attention from them that we want. And so that's why I've recommended PVPC. I did call up Eric Weiss, and if you wanted to talk to him, he told me I just have to text him and he'd come on. But I did distribute something that he sent, which will inform you as to how they would approach the project. They're also involved with Wilbraham and Springfield, and I think another town in the region, doing the same type of project. As I mentioned last week, the word is from MBI that you need to have this kind of planning process to have a leg up for the big money that's coming out next year.
Right.
So I know that we've done a lot of it.
We already have the grant for this portion of it.
That's right. We have a grant. They will pay that cost. There's no cost to the town.
Now, will any of these companies, will the grant cover their services?
Yes.
100%?
Yes. In other words, we will not even see any money.
There's good.
The vendor that you choose will be paid directly by the MBI grant. So.
What's the turnaround look like? Do we know?
I talked to Eric Rice about that. He said 3 to 6 months, but because Hampden is an uncomplicated situation.
Yeah.
We don't have equity issues. We don't have neighborhoods that will be underserved and stuff like that. He said, because you're going to do a town-wide project, and that all areas of the town are going to be served.
Be equitable.
He said, that makes it a lot easier and more like 3 months than 6.
So you recommend PVPC?
Yes. Yes. I mean, they're familiar with well, this kind of project, they're doing it already in other towns that are adjacent. And I don't think that the larger companies will give it the attention that I think it's going to deserve, especially since we want to get it done in time for the application process for the big infrastructure money that's coming out of Washington.
We think when, sometime in the spring, maybe?
If we start now, we're gonna.
For the big money?
Yes, oh yeah, oh yeah. So, for all those reasons,
I liked VHB when they gave the master plan presentation, but again, that was their focus.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is true for PVPC, because they're doing this focus with other communities now.
Yeah.
I think the right thing to do is go with them.
Yeah.
I would
And we
move
certainly have a
to,
great local relationship with them already.
yeah, we do.
I would move to award the digital equity plan to PVPC.
Second.
Consultant.
All, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thanks, Bob.
we have nine.
Moving right along, Don.
We have 9 liquor licenses here, and we have a, from the, what's it say here? A review of the liquor license holder has been conducted by the Hampden Police Department, all right? So they've checked everything out okay with everybody?
Building, fire, police,
Building,
everything's
fire,
good.
police, good.
Tax law,
Motions, there's good.
no back taxes, anything like that.
Do we need to do them individually or just as a?
We'll take a motion listing the names, one motion, just.
One motion, list of names.
I move to approve liquor licenses for 2024 to La Cucina, Mountain View Drive-In, Hampden Discount Liquors, Hampden Grog Shop, Great Horse, Gio's Pizzeria, La Casabella, Village Food Mart, and the VFW.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This was gonna get signed.
We're gonna sign it now. All right, while we're doing that,
Entertainments are coming along, Lauren.
Yes, I have to get after them again.
And then the Sunday's a different permit.
Yeah, Great Horse.
the next item on our agenda is the operations during, if there's a TA, town administrator vacancy. It doesn't look like we'll have the position filled.
I stay in touch with Bernie Lynch, and he told me that he has a couple of candidates that he's talking to actively, and thinks that one might be a good fit for the town. But you're likely to have up to 2 months, I think, gap. So.
I actually was watching a couple other communities doing their selectmen meetings, and I hear they've also hired Bernie for their towns for town manager. And, yeah, like you said, there's 2 major players,
Yes.
Bernie and, who's the other one?
It's the McCormick
yeah.
Institute, Collins Center, I
Collins,
should
all
say,
right.
which is part of McCormick.
Sure.
Yeah, and Collins has moved in another direction towards special projects, like doing HR, which they did for the town here, and doing charters and other projects as opposed to department and executive search. And so Lynch he's hired staff, so that he's not alone anymore. And I talk to him once a week and say what's going on, and so far no news, but he did tell me on the phone last Friday, I think, that he thinks that he's made some progress.
But we're still looking, you said a couple months.
I think so. He said the person that he had in mind was interested in Southampton, but salary here is a little higher, so there might be interest in here instead, so.
But the question is, if it goes 2 months, 3 months.
There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes.
Going on. How are we gonna fill those? Who's gonna oversee that, fill it? Do it.
Well,
I don't hear any answers.
So, yeah, no, we don't have a lot of those answers.
No, I mean, before you mentioned, I think, you touched on the fact that you had something lined up, but I'm not sure the time frame on it. Would you be able to help us on a month-to-month basis at this point?
right now, there's a shadowing requirement. It's with the state, so they want to make the announcement. And so
Dalton,
it becomes full-time, probably sometime in February. So I do have a little time.
So are you willing to hang around? Are you willing
To ensure us.
to hang around until?
Smooth, peaceful transition.
Live here most of the time, yes.
Yeah.
well, I'll make a motion to offer Bob a 1-month contract till the end of January for right now, and we'll see how it goes. Like, sounds like you say you're pretty sure you have January open.
I think so, yes.
I'd like to amend that motion
Okay.
for, I don't want to put a time frame on it, because there could be situations for Bob, but I'd like to try to, if there's a need to keep him on longer than 1 month, to possibly have him stick around as long as need be. You know, so I'll amend the motion to.
It's kind of like a tenancy at will.
Yeah, tendency, well, obviously longer than a
Yeah,
month.
What the current contract says. That-
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Bob's got something lined up. I don't want to put him in, hate to say it, what if his new employer saw the fact, well, gee, Bob, you just signed a contract for, and put him in a bad light. And I think if things slid a little bit on your new thing, we can extend it. Our checks are clear, we can still write, And I did talk about the fact that I think using your expertise, even going longer for the grant part, would be extremely valuable to the town. Even if we brought a new person on, you'd be available to bring that person up to speed.
I think, as I mentioned to you before, the core services of the town are funded by property taxes, state aid, and fees. Anything you do beyond that typically now is grant funded. That's the way it is, I think, in most towns now. That's the way it is. You want to build a sidewalk, look for a grant. You got stuff like that.
So you want to do your amendment?
Yes.
So your amendment is?
Well, you're conveying flexibility.
Flexibility, yes,
We can
yeah.
have
Well,
flexibility.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word.
I know, it's a word that's not
Yeah.
open-ended, though,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, if Bernie thinks he's wrapped up in a couple of months, then make it a 2-month contract.
We'll keep Bob on at will.
As soon as Brendan Lynch has a candidate and brings it to the selectmen, brings that person to the selectmen or whoever, maybe 2 or 3 candidates, you interview them, you make a decision. Chances are, if that person is employed, there's going to be a little slippage of time until they notify the current employer and so forth.
Yeah, I think we're at
As
least.
soon as all that happens, I mean, what I'm hearing from you is that I disappear. And that's basically the way it is now. The contract is a 2-week contract, and both sides, by the way.
3 months, I'll do 3.
What do you say?
I'll amend mine to 3,
Okay,
but I don't like making it open-ended.
okay, so
Three.
I'd like to
let's
amend it to
withdraw,
3.
let's
I'll
withdraw the
withdraw my
motion.
motion.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to
Once you do
renew
up to-
Bob's
up to 3
contract not
months.
to exceed 3 months.
Okay.
With the
Up to.
same provisions
Up
at
to.
will or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will keep you posted.
No raise.
On other,
No raise.
No raise.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. All right,
You still keep your parking place, though.
so I guess I sent a list of things that, if we just want to run down them real quick, that we got on our agenda. I think it's in here. Oh, we got this too.
Knock out.
Where is that? Where'd you find that?
Page 5.
So real quick on the list, so just trying to get like a timeline, or, you know, keep it, maybe we should continue just putting this on the bottom of every agenda.
I mentioned that before, that we should have our
Yeah.
tickle file on
Yeah.
every agenda.
So the town administrator hire, we're going forward on that, we're waiting for Bernie, we know we've done there. The health coordinator hire,
Well, some of these, Don, I think a lot of these are budget impact things, and like, I think maybe a larger heading for like the contract, you know. we should almost have
divide it up by budget and,
Basically, budget impacts for
Yeah.
FY '25,
okay,
yeah,
all right, we can do that.
yeah. Because I think if you look at police union contract,
Yeah.
contract, these are reopener, ambulance.
Right.
I talked to Finn tonight also about, you know, is there gonna be impact on shared
Oh,
health?
yeah, health, sure, health.
He did say that he thinks the state grant is gonna be level funded, and obviously, as you know, with salaries going up, there is gonna be a shared health impact next year
Yeah,
too.
sure, I gotta add that to the list. So we're gonna divide,
yeah,
we're gonna divide this up by budget,
Dispatch, we need to,
oh, yeah,
you know, it's
dispatch.
gonna be an impact on the budget as well.
Dispatch contract, well, I think.
Now we're gonna hit the,
62.5 this year is what it is.
That's what it will be.
is it set down to 75%? I thought it was 50%,
It's 50%
up 250.
of 125.
He said it was 125 was gonna be our impact. I thought when we talked to him last week.
No, we pay.
125.
We pay 120, the state pays 125 now,
Right, okay.
so we're 62.5.
62.5.
And the next time it's 90 some,
And then the next one is 25% of.
Yeah.
And my point before was that was fixed, I just wanted a little more flexibility, because that was based on a certain fixed cost of their operation.
yeah,
And I still felt, and I don't know if you saw where I was going with that, that as you bring Belchertown in, it seemed like the fixed cost could be looked at, and our percentage should be. And I thought Tony said he was amenable to reviewing that.
he did,
Yeah.
because I brought that up, and he
Yeah.
said, yeah, so, but I don't.
I don't think that's his decision, though. I think.
No,
that-
no, but I think that basically the thing is there's gonna be a shared dispatch impact on the budget next year.
Oh,
right.
Bottom line.
Okay. So the police contract, I talked to the chief about some ideas that he had, and about his particular contract, which we should talk about in executive session at some point. Fiber optic project, we're gonna go forward with that, I guess, and, right?
Let's see what happens with this,
The highway wage reopener, that's just if
February 1st.
if that's the February 1st, whatever, if it's above 3%, we'll talk to them just about the money. The ambulance contract, we gotta renew that again. Cable TV license renewal.
as far as that
Did
goes.
we 3 years on McNamara, or do we do just a 1 year?
I don't remember.
I think it was
Something
1 year.
we need to look at.
Yeah.
Just
I
the
think it was
1
1 year.
I put that down, I couldn't figure that out either.
Yeah.
3 years.
Was
Huh?
it 3 years?
We did 3 years of
3 years.
McNamara, so they're all set.
I thought we had the clause in there was a 1 year.
No, he'll want a little more money.
I thought it was a 1 year
I
and then
thought,
another
yeah,
1 year
they had an
option.
option for a
No.
1 year renewal, and that was,
Well, I believe we have an option for a.
Another renewal.
No, we give another option, but it was just 1 year.
that's what I thought.
So we gotta look at that, okay. The cell tower, we're waiting to get right back
Can I
in
go
there.
back real quick on the cable TV
Yeah.
license?
Yeah,
Bob had brought that person in before, a consultant.
yeah,
I'm wondering if legally wise, we should entertain that again, just to cover. And I don't know per se what's involved with that type of
Yeah.
negotiation, you know?
I think the choices are do it ourselves or to have an attorney with experience to do it. Person I brought in is the only attorney that I know of who specializes in those kinds of negotiations. I worked with him in Norfolk, I worked with him in Ipswich. He did pretty well.
And
And
just for clarification, this is just the TV portion, nothing to
Just the
do with
TV.
internet, right?
No, nothing to do with internet or anything else.
Right, so
just
we
the
can't
TV.
get any guarantees from them as far as internet goes. It's
No.
only for what they
Just the
provide.
TV.
TV
right,
service.
Right.
If we use that consultant, I'd like to do it on a flat fee type rather than getting into an hourly thing. If we had a quote from him,
Yeah.
with his experience, I think he'd be able to give us a pretty good sense of what, we're a small town, he's
We're
probably
small.
done 10 of them,
Yeah.
so. He's dealing with the same issues he did with Goshen, with Haydenville, you
Yeah.
know, that type of thing.
But in any event, we have to schedule a public hearing
Yes,
forum, so.
And one of the
Are we gonna do that, or are they gonna do that?
We're gonna do
We're gonna do
that,
that.
we have to do that.
One of the issues of contention is how many public access channels? But that's not going to affect the
That's- we
contract
don't have that.
with Hampden, no.
No.
So that's usually a big tug of war, but that's not gonna affect the contract here, so.
Okay, so we're gonna, so I thought maybe we might schedule that public forum right after the first of the year. January,
A little closer,
well,
in January, sometime in January.
yeah, like I'm talking January, 8 or 9, that first week of January.
I only worry about getting the notice out. Notices you put out the last week of the year are
Yeah, I
forgotten.
know, yeah.
And you've got to put that notice out in the first week and maybe have the thing in the second week. That's all,
All right.
yeah. Because nobody's thinking at the
No,
end
I
of
know.
December, yeah.
The fire chief is up for reappointment, so, building use policy, we never,
Never seen
we're
that.
doing that. Borrego Solar Pilot, we gotta start talking to them. How far along are they, does anybody know?
I thought, you're talking the potash?
Yeah,
I thought pretty far along.
yeah.
That's been the case for a couple
But
of years.
again, it's,
They've probably been running for 5 years.
yeah. I think Kelly gave us a bit of an update on that at the last meeting, though. Remember, just check with them.
MVP East Main Street Bridge. We need money for that, right?
There's a new round for the gaming commission, and I'm gonna apply for it. I think it's a good chance that it.
I suggested that since it was on the route, maybe
Yeah,
gaming money.
yeah, maybe they can do something there.
Well, we didn't use all the last gaming money. I mean, was there an expiration date on the
No.
previous money? So we
No.
should have,
I think we're
Not
up
just
to
for the
around
new one, but we
91,
Maybe it
92,
can
Yeah.
help take-
92,000, 91 or 92.
yeah.
So there's still some left. Did you skip over this one?
We didn't get there
This
yet.
Didn't
ad,
get there yet.
We didn't get there. I guess we did. Oh, yeah, we did skip over
got
it.
town boards at the top of there.
Shared conservation agent.
Well,
You
we
talk-
are ready.
What?
The town of Hampden is ready.
Yeah,
He has attended their meeting, they like him, they want to hire him. I was working with the Conservation Commission Chair in Granby. He's the person who agreed to be the point man. And as it turned out, he may have gotten a little bit ahead of the selectmen. And so he had to pull back on the agreed upon date when the candidate would go to the Granby Conservation Commission for an interview. Now, as of today, I got another message from him that things seem to be moving along and they're going to meet with the candidate. And if they're agreeable, we're in a position to hire.
The selectmen are gonna meet with them.
Pardon?
The Granby selectmen are gonna meet with them.
Yes.
Okay.
And the arrangement is 15 hours for Hampden and 20 hours for Granby.
and we had a concern about, or Bonnie's concern about where's this person going to be located?
That is, yes.
Still a concern.
In conjunction with that, just one thing. We have those storage cabinets against the wall in Melville. If we could relocate those storage cabinets, and in the process, get the paperwork into Laserfish, I think you could set 2 cubicles there. One would be for the veterans agent, who comes only on Wednesdays, but he sits right out in the room there. It doesn't have any privacy. I notice that when he has a client in, they just stand there in the room, and it's awkward. And then have another cubicle for this conservation agent. Now, Bonnie suggested that we knock out the wall in the office, the conservation office, and remove what's in that little storage, that secondary storage room there, and make an office there. I mean, that's another option.
Yeah, because we have so much excess storage room here in the,
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue. Where are we gonna put all this?
right. That used to be the police evidence room before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
No, the only other room that we have down there that's not used often is where Finn goes some days when he's here.
On the corridor?
Well,
You mean on the corner?
Downstairs, yeah, in the corner.
Yeah.
But can Finn work in the Board of Health office? Is that, or does it need to be completely confidential?
Oh, you almost wonder if he changed his day, if he made Hampden Friday, you could use the Board of Health office because nobody's here. But I think he comes in as needed too.
He does.
Yeah, he doesn't,
It's not
About
just
that.
here on a regular schedule.
I have a question about the veteran agent thing. One of the things that came up in our discussion originally was access.
Yes.
And we talked about the auditorium. Now, I understand privacy might be a thing, but the Melville room has to be the least accessible area
Yeah.
because of the multiple stairs to get down to it.
Yeah.
Has that been an issue for veterans coming in?
Not until this point, no complaints.
I think we're lucky.
And I've seen probably 4 or so clients that he's been working with on Wednesdays. He's only here Wednesdays. They all seem to be mobile, so.
Okay.
It hasn't come up yet, but eventually it will.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, there's plenty of room in here. We could put cubicles in here.
where would the yoga people go?
I mean, we have all the COVID boards over there that nobody's using, taking up a whole cubicle worth of space.
Sure. No, seriously, you could line that, you take all that stuff out, you could line the whole thing and make that cubicles right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
All right, something else to do.
I mean, even though we're short on space for these 2 offices, I don't see the town workforce growing. I don't see any more need for more space. I think the services that are provided now are going to be the services of the future. You're not going to.
Well, you're talking about those, a lot of those file cabinets down there are all planning, appeals, conservation stuff. You talked about having somebody, a service coming in and scanning, that's one option. But if you wanted to relocate them, you know, obviously the place I can think of is put them over at the school.
Maybe we get a room at TWB for document storage.
Right, and if they need to use it, hey, you know, the door is open there, they're using the building. That gets open more than the town hall is, so being able to go over and check an office, you know, check a file cabinet, it's easy to do. So,
Well, I think we just need to find a place to put the cabinets. What we could do when we get the company involved in scanning, professional scanning, they could do those cabinets first. Then we could relocate them, and you wouldn't have a need to go over there. You have the records on your desktop.
if they can, I mean, I'm also concerned, like, I was talking to Hobie, and again, a lot of the planning board stuff is huge.
Yeah.
Huge paper things, and they're gonna have to have a pretty large format scanner for all those.
We don't have access to a large format scanner, but companies do.
Oh, I know,
So, yeah.
cheap.
And what they'll do, they'll scan on-site, but also for the large format materials, they take them off-site, scan them, and bring them back.
Maybe we'll move everything over to Thornbridge and let them scan everything over there.
Yeah.
That way it's off, you know, not interfering with
That'd be
operations.
another way to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you got the ad?
I have the ad, yes. Any additions? I thought we would list the committees.
Yeah, nice Adobe work there, Don. I'm pretty impressed.
Very creative, yes.
So your use of dots is a little excessive.
Well, because I don't, the thing's gotta be filled in, right?
I think it's gonna be is that what you're looking for? I got you. You gotta underline it then.
Yeah. There's no, you know, the address or the date or whoever we're gonna contact has to be filled in.
Yeah.
Isn't that cute? Wow, see, it doesn't see you.
Yeah, who did that?
Something's missing.
Who did that? Not giving up your source, huh? All right, fine.
That's copyrighted.
Hampden is exceptional. Stop that, no exception. Hampden is exceptional. Yeah, although we are exceptional, we are no exception. Yeah.
You put the P in Hampden.
Yeah, put that in one of these days.
Sure.
Is Hampton spelled a P?
I'm updating the booklet, by the way, because we brought a number of new committee members in, even some new hires.
How much is this gonna cost? Did you find out?
No. If you ask them how much? No.
Hey, Dalton, how much is an ad?
Is it going in the paper as a flyer, or is it going in a paper, in a section, like,
How can we do it as a flyer?
like an insert?
Show Dalton, is he on there?
He is.
He's there, Dalton?
Yeah, pick him on, can you see
Well,
that?
He's just recording, he's probably not there.
Yeah, probably.
No.
So, I mean, are we talking, we think there should be a full-page ad, or a half-page ad? I mean, what content you have here, even with the list, you could probably condense it into a half-page. I'm happy to print a flyer if we need a flyer, which should be done in the past. The question is, do people discard flyers without looking at them, but they read the paper?
Right,
Right,
So
I do.
I think I'm a discarder.
half-page ad,
Yeah.
yeah, I do too.
So I do it too.
Big
Not the
wide
scribe,
flyer.
never the scribe. I go through the scribe religiously.
Yes, yeah.
All
All
right,
right,
I'd like to flesh this out and bring it back for a final, get our final
Yep.
list of boards and committees.
yeah, good.
Probably 2 more by the time we get it back.
We gotta add the Mill Pond Committee.
Is it easier to list all boards and committees, just cross through the ones we don't need somebody through on?
Theater Guild request.
I've got some experience with this, although I'm not currently in a show. In the past, Marquisa has had rehearsals here at the town hall. And it's always been, he's always understood that his needs are secondary to any town needs. And typically rehearsals were on Sunday here in the auditorium, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I think when he came to see Lauren, he was looking for Tuesdays and Thursdays, hopefully in the auditorium. But as he's well aware, the library has preference for the auditorium on Thursday. So whenever something, and on other occasions, there's been like, maybe Park and Rec has been up here.
Yeah.
And he will relocate his rehearsal downstairs to Melville. Or on occasion, he's even asked the permission of the library to use the Rochford room, and they've accommodated him there. So he's looking for permission for an open room subservient to any town need on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Now, how does he get access on Sunday?
Typically me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in the show. So.
Yeah.
Does he
This
want
is
to use Academy
Oklahoma.
Hall?
This is Oklahoma. They're still looking for that third cowboy, Don.
This cowboy's giving up.
No, I got that Walter Brennan all for you right now.
The only horse that this cowboy is the one he bets on.
They still have that?
You know, I've been known to go up to Saratoga.
Really?
So we need a motion.
Do we need a motion, or?
It's never been a motion before. It's just that like he understands, look, you come in second to somebody, all of a sudden Park and Rec schedules a public meeting in the auditorium on Tuesday, you're moving downstairs. And that's never been an issue in the past.
All right, what's that?
Yeah.
Understands,
Does he want to use
understands where he is in the
Well,
pecking
Does he want to
order,
use the Academy of
basically.
Music? The Academy of Music Hall?
Academy Hall.
Academy of Music.
Oh, I was thinking Northampton, like, what?
Hey, that's what we have our own little mini Academy of Music.
What else we got? We have, TA Selectmen.
Well, I think the big thing for this, I know I have COA board meeting tomorrow. We had a very good session on the building committee. We met with the approved architect, and Bob said the contract has gone out. To them, okay. So there was a 3-4 hour session last week with them at the senior center, going over, talking to people, seeing perceived needs, et cetera. We have planning board this Wednesday night. And of course, our big thing tomorrow night, Don, government forum.
Planning board's meeting, wasn't it?
13th, I believe, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was asked.
Well, conservation is the 20th.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. No, planning is Wednesday, government study is tomorrow night.
Are you gonna talk to them about minutes? Concom?
Yeah, they will. The planning committee didn't
Oh, I
meet
saw that, yeah.
because we didn't have a quorum. I had an emergency and I had to.
Everything okay?
Yeah, yes.
New car? Another one?
The same issue. Yeah. Right, yes, sir.
Water commission is tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. And town administrator's report.
Quickly, Don, do you want to say a couple things about that forum tomorrow, just for the millions of people online and across the world?
There's a forum tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock, I believe.
6:30.
6:30, for the government study committee to get input from citizens about town government, what they think is going well and what should be changed, if anything. 6:30 to 8 tomorrow night here at the town hall.
And the over-under is?
5 people.
That aren't on the committee.
No, we posted on the website, I was asked to do a robocall, which I.
Robocall.
Carolyn
Are you
wants to
doing
know if
another
it'll be
one,
on Zoom.
or?
No, just the one. Carolyn wants to know.
If it's gonna be a Zoom.
Tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Are we gonna post that link? Don't think it was in the,
Was the link
announcement.
posted?
I'm just thinking out loud here about Zoom. Yes, I think, and I think we have, it's posted as well. But I'll look into that tomorrow, make sure we get it out there.
Town administrator's report.
Okay, we've talked about the conservation agent, stormwater coordinator. I'm preparing the application for the MBI program. It's a $145 million grant program. And we may not.
We don't need it all.
What?
We don't need it all.
No, we don't need it all. We may not get all that we need, but we will get some.
Well, that's the hope.
Pardon?
That's the hope.
Yes. Oh, we will, we will. I also participated in an MMA webinar having to do with post-certification. This is the police reform legislation, and out of that came the so-called post-certification, where each police officer has to be certified in order to continue working. And I thought it was very useful, and it is another check and balance on the system that I think will serve Commonwealth well. Here are the vacancies. They haven't changed, other than we've added the Mill Pond Committee. I'll list these on the ad that we place. Contract for senior center design was reviewed by town council. She made a number of changes in what I had proposed, and it's done, and it's been sent. Also posted the fire department RFQ on combis. Master plan documents are signed and the project can start. Have contracted for the work at Academy Hall. They wanted the town's tax exempt number, which I gave to them just recently. Working with Rise Engineering on EV charging. Government Study Committee forum tomorrow night, as I mentioned. I'm remaining in touch with Bernard Lynch, having to do with the work that he's doing for recruitment. New round of grant funding from the Mass Gaming Commission is about to open, and I will ask for $50,000.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
What?
That's good.
And the chief has some items that he would like to apply for. And they did a webinar about 10 days ago, which I listened to, on the new approach that they have to grant funding. And you have one application and you can apply for several different needs in one application. We don't ask for a lot. There are communities. Chelsea applied for and received a grant to design a roundabout. And, you know, those things are designed for $300,000 and $400,000, and they got that money. So we haven't asked for a lot, so I am confident that we'll get what we asked for.
Don, do you think we need another crosswalk here at the town hall? I know we put one in at the park, but I mean, the town hall.
Oh, the signs? The flashing signs right here.
Right.
I know a lot of people use this intersection in the morning for school.
Oh, yeah, the school.
Yeah, they use it a lot.
And now we got some experience, we put in two, so I mean, putting it in wouldn't be a big deal. And maybe
Okay, the Hampden Holiday Luncheon is going to be on Wednesday of this week at noon. If you come, bring a dessert. I was told to demand that of the selectmen.
Bring dessert.
All right.
And that's it.
All right, anything else to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'd like to discuss the motion.
How was that, Greg? Was it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Aye, 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 aye.